So welcome everybody. My name is Chris Roach. I'm president of Roeslein Alternative Energy. I'm going to give you an overview of the journey we've been on for the last 9 years and show you some of the stuff that we've accomplished. Happy to take questions anywhere along the way. I'm going to share a lot of technical information, but I'll try to keep it relatively brief. But I am an engineer by nature, so I love diving into the weeds on the technical stuff. So this slide is interesting because we've been showing this slide from early on in our company, because at the beginning these were goals. We were describing a program that we really didn't know how we were going to get it done, but we had signed this MBOA that Michael shared, Master Biogas Output Agreement. I'd still like to know who invented that acronym, but you know, when we signed that agreement, we were committing to convert these finishing farms to renewable energy projects without any understanding of what the heck we were going to do with the gas. We thought we might make power. Then that turned out to be a non-starter because the local utility wanted to give us 5 cents a kilowatt or whatever, and you can't build a project on 5 cents a kilowatt. So we started looking at, well, let's think about renewable natural gas, and we were even meeting with companies in southern Missouri thinking we were going to ship the gas from northern Missouri to southern Missouri for use, until we understood that Californians would pay a lot for this stuff. So we started working on developing the projects, and this is just giving some of the highlights. There's a map showing you where all the farms are today, and I'll show you some details in a moment. 2 million market hogs per year can produce 800,000 decatherms of gas per year. That's what we've figured out along the way. At some point early in the program, we probably thought it was a lot more than that. Well, we really didn't know everything we know today. We've learned a lot going through this process. The program, we always thought it was going to be somewhere in the low 100 millions. And it was just an estimate when we started. We've landed at 150 million invested in all these projects. We started in 2014, we finished this year. That was the actual, I mean, if there's a milestone we're going to mark today, we met our original commitment on the dates that were in that original agreement. That to me is probably one of the things I'm most proud of. So we basically on 8 finishing farms. Originally there were 9, for those who remember. One small farm has not yet been determined to be a project we're going to do. We may do it at some point. I'm pretty sure we'll probably pick it up in the next few years. But we've got on 8 farms, 83 covered lagoons. I'll show you some pictures as we go through here, but each of these lagoons is 15 to 20 million gallons with about a 4-acre plastic cover on it. And it's been an evolution for us just on the covers. We could spend 2 hours talking about covers with some of the people in here that I know love covers. But we've learned so much along the way about what a cover is and how to make it work, and not just for gas, but for the farm, for the water management, for everything that's related to it. We've got 8 operating facilities that produce RNG. We've got 4 interconnects, 3 with A&R. A&R is a pipeline. Well, A&R is owned by TC Energy, which is TransCanada, which has had that big Keystone pipeline that's been in the news for the last decade. Well, we happen to now be one of these little renewable projects that they're trying to bring us down to Houston. And let's start talking about what we've done with this group in Missouri, Monarch, to celebrate something green that they've accomplished. They finally clued in. And then we've got one with the city of Milan, which is a unique solution and something that we developed, but it's basically putting the RNG produced at Valley View, one of the farms, into the city's gas distribution system that actually mostly gets used in Smithfield's processing plant in Milan. Now, we still get to sell the gas to California, and that's just one of the weird little, how the program works. All the gas we're producing and injecting into these pipelines, I guarantee you it's all being used up pretty close to Missouri. It might make it into Iowa. But the way the California program works and the EPA's program, when you put the gas into the pipeline, we get to take these environmental attributes, so the carbon negative aspects of the gas, and we get to reattach them to gas that we can purchase and sell to a gas station in California. We've got a couple of CNG offloading facilities is another big development that we accomplished through these projects. And then, as Craig had mentioned, we're about to be able to produce 800,000 decatherms a year. This slide, this is the timeline of all that we've done. It's kind of busy on the bottom, so I summarized in some bullets at the top just to kind of talk through big top-level milestones. I should have put 2013 we signed the MBOA. 2014 we started covering lagoons, thinking we would flare the gas and sell carbon credits, which at the time we thought we'd get a modest single-digit return doing that. There were so many headaches related to doing carbon credits. I hope we never do carbon credits again, but that's okay. That was the beginning. 2015, we started at Ruckman doing a full project, and we were engineering for a while. We were going through, a lot of iterations and trying to figure out what was the right design, what was the right equipment. Finally, we started in 2015 covering the lagoons at Ruckman and putting in this first gas plant that I'll show you in a second. We started at Locust Ridge as well on covers. In 2016, that was a big year. We finished Ruckman. We actually got the first BTUs in the pipeline, which was such a moment. I mean, it was a struggle to get there, but when it actually started flowing and we could say we sold some gas, that was a pretty significant milestone. We kept then thinking about the design and going through the process. We knew we had to first go to EPA to get approval to sell this gas. So there's two big programs we sell to. There's the Renewable Fuel Standard program, which is why we have corn ethanol today and biodiesel and other things. But there's a component of the Renewable Fuel Standard that wants to have cellulosic biofuel. Well, at the beginning, cellulosic biofuel was going to be ethanol from switchgrass. I spent a little bit of my career before I joined Rudy working on that. It was very difficult to do. But around 2015, RNG from livestock manure got classified and approved as cellulosic biofuel. So then we have a product to sell to the RFS and the EPA has to approve it. That first approval was pretty difficult. We had a lot of things that we thought made sense from an engineering perspective. Then when you show it to the EPA and they tell you, nope, we can't approve that, it's pretty maddening when you know it's the right thing, but they tell you, nope, you got to do it a different way. So we had to hustle and build a 2-mile pipeline in about 6 weeks from the city of Albany's gas system to Ruckman. I'm getting a little bit in the weeds, but it's just some of the things that we struggled through that first approval with the EPA that taught us a lot. We were also starting our project, Locust Ridge was the second real project that we finished, but this was one where we had this virtual pipeline concept where instead of building a pipe, because there's no interconnects nearby Locust Ridge, the only way we can get the gas into the pipeline is to compress it and put it in a truck and drive it over to Ruckman and offload it. We thought, again, from an engineering perspective, this is a no-brainer. This should be very easily approved. Well, we went through several iterations with the EPA and then ultimately with CARB and made a lot of changes. We had to add instrumentation. I mean, there was a lot of things that we had to react to and solve to get those projects approved. Valley View was the first project we did where we went from technology that we bought as a gas upgrading system to technology we were now developing within the Roeslein team, membrane-based system that we put together, and it worked. We were all pretty excited. We built this first system together, and it actually worked. It also was another virtual pipeline site, but now that we had 2 farms delivering gas to Ruckman, CARB said, oh, time out, we can't approve Valley View because you got 2 farms gas coming in sharing flow meters and things. You guys have to put in a bunch of additional instrumentation and then we'll approve it. Every time I would get news like this and go into Rudy's office with the next kick in the stomach. Thank God we persevered. But those were tough moments, and we had a lot tougher moments too. But if you're gonna be in the renewable energy space and develop new projects and do new things and try to it's tough. And to me, that's one of the testaments of us being here today is that we've gotten through a lot of that stuff. In 2018, We started discussions with Smithfield, and at the beginning, we were there on the farm doing these projects. We had the MBOA, trying to figure out how to work together. Not always a lot of information being shared. That has evolved to the point now where we've got our joint venture with Smithfield. We've got our teams that operate on these farms and operate with the Missouri Smithfield folks. That's, from a business perspective, that's probably one of the things that we should take the most pride in, is the strength of the relationship and the closeness and now the alignment towards taking what we've done here and expanding it to other states and other parts of Smithfield's operations. We formed the Monarch joint venture. We got some new capital infused after Rudy invested $57 million. We got some new money from Smithfield. We kept building. So then we built Valley View 2. We finished out Valley View, built South Meadows. Those got up and running in 12 months. We were really starting to click. We had a new membrane system that we now are working with Air Products, and an improvement in many ways. And then we were able to go to CoBank and close basically an $80 million debt facility that has funded the rest of the projects that we've built out, which is Green Hills, Whitetail, Somerset, and Holman. Somerset we'll see today. So this is Ruckman. I've got some metrics on each of these. I ask you to read through them, but I just want to highlight some things. I mentioned this was our first site. I mean, there's so much that we learned and did here at Ruckman that has taught us what we know today in terms of the project solutions, but I will tell you there are so many things we did here we'll never do again. But that's okay, that's part of the evolution. But if you look at this facility, you've got Site 11 in the background with its barns and lagoon cover. We've got the gas plant in the middle. That's what's processing and upgrading all of the gas from the 9 lagoons on Ruckman. This is our truck tube trailers. So we've got in this picture, we've got 3 farms of gas being delivered here to be offloaded and injected into this interconnect to the right. You can't see all the piping, but those 2 buildings, those are owned by the pipeline. That's how they measure the gas and make sure that it's on spec. This is one of our better CI score projects. This just got updated. This is a negative 432. It's kind of a meaningless number, but what I will tell you is to Craig's description of carbon negative, that 0.49 means we get basically half an LCFS credit per MMBTU that we produce. And the credits are where frankly, the big revenues generated, these LCFS credits for the project. But that 0.49 represents half a metric ton of CO2. That's what that number means. So we go from this sort of esoteric score of negative something, 400, to this factor. The factor is how many metric tons of CO2 per MMBTU is this fuel negative? How much are we pulling out of the atmosphere effectively? Locust Ridge, I mentioned this was our second site. This is where we load the trailers. This is one of our CNG loading locations in the upper right. This actually shows 2 projects. Locust Ridge was done in 2 phases. We did a small project first. That's the upper set of equipment. The lower is the newer. This was the last purchases of another company's very good gas upgrading technology before we started doing our own. Scores on the bottom. This is the negative 450. This is our best one. And we just got it, by the way. So we've actually been able to do some improvement with our partner Element Markets, who we sell the gas to. We've gone back to CARB, and we've demonstrated that these first projects that were all approved, and they were all in the negative 300s, have a better carbon negative score, and they approved it. Valley View is another one that we did in 2 phases. We started with the first train in the background. That was with 6 lagoons, and then this was the first Roeslein, actually the first one was the Air Liquide first membrane system that we did. This green box that has membranes, this is the Air Product system. This was the first one we put in the field, and this is now the bulk of the systems that we have on these projects that you'll see. And this project is the one that we also built a 13-mile pipeline from Valley View and connected it to the city gas system at Milan. So that was another big accomplishment for us, was doing all that's required to go negotiate for the easements, deal with the state, deal with the PSC, get the pipeline approved, get it built, get it operating, interface with the city, and do that interconnect. So some more milestones of what we've accomplished. South Meadows was built the same year as Valley View 2. You'll see a familiar, this enclosure, that's the membranes that do the gas upgrading. This is a smaller farm. This is the smallest of the 8 we have operating today. But frankly, it's one of the best producing farms that we have in terms of gas per lagoon. You see here, this is another version of loading gas onto tube trailers. So this gas was being brought over west of here to Ruckman. Now this gas is being delivered to a new truck offloading facility I'll show you in a moment at Whitetail. Holman, this project was completed in 2020. You're starting to see some of the same kind of equipment. We have standardized on a lot of things as we figured out what are the best ways to do this, and that's really a joint effort between Roeslein Alternative Energy, Roeslein & Associates, and Smithfield. So this one has 10 lagoons. We've got the CNG loading up here. Again, this is one of the 4 that is a virtual pipeline. We've produced 92,000 decatherms to date. This one was completed and started up last year. So this was the first of 4 that we've built with CoBank's funding for the project. Somerset we'll see today. This is the largest of the 8, 17 lagoons. You actually have 2 gas cleaning trains. It's got the newest version of our designs for the farm, the lagoons, the gas upgrading. We also have now 3 farms of gas being delivered here in this new truck offloading area that you see in the upper right. Our operating team, which is really one of our key strengths going forward, we've created 20 new full-time jobs in this area. Certainly our partnership with Smithfield is one of our significant accomplishments, because it's what we've done so far, but I look forward to standing up here in a couple years to talk about what we will do in the next few years. We were the first to get CARB and LCFS approval, EPA and LCFS approval for a swine RNG project. I still think we're the only ones. I was actually just checking a few days ago, and I don't see any others that are yet approved, but I know there's a few folks working on it. We've developed our own gas upgrading systems, and we continue to improve those things. We've got new innovations we're going to be bringing out to new projects in the next few years, and I'm sure we won't stop. This lowest CI score, it's not the lowest in the industry, but for the size of project that we have, this is one of the highest LCFS credit producing projects. At this one example, all these projects have very good scores when it comes to that measurement. And then, I skipped one, I'm sorry. We also developed the virtual pipeline, CNG, for EPA and CARB. We were the first to do that as well. And this last one, we've talked about the conversions, but 800,000 decatherms is 5.8 million diesel gallon equivalents. That's like 80,000 passenger cars taken off the road. And this is from the EPA equivalency website on greenhouse gas emissions. A few more slides on our Horizon 2 efforts and our partnership with Smithfield. Craig spoke to it a little bit, and our guys are here to answer questions if we have any, but we had a first project at Ruckman, 137-acre prairie establishment next to the lake. And the point is to demonstrate many things. How do we establish prairie on marginal land? What are the benefits from having it in terms of erosion prevention, in terms of the water quality in that lake? What's the impact on pollinators, wildlife? We're measuring all those things with that first project. That got expanded to 1,000, what we call the SHP 1000 prairie project. It's so far right now we have 740 acres will be planted by next year when we finish the 6 remaining at Ruckman, so we're very close. Funded by the Smithfield Foundation in partnership with the Missouri Prairie Foundation, RAE, and the Environmental Defense Fund. So just some picture of results. This is Ruckman. You've got, obviously this is a lot of flowers blooming, 4th growing season. You can't see the lake, but it's just over the hill. In the background, I believe that's Site 9. And we have Iowa State doing a lot of measurements on this planting. Again, we're looking for positive impacts on the water, the soil, wildlife, and pollinators. And we're going to start doing a new monitoring plan because we're going to do some manure application to this to see what positive impact that has, because it frankly can help have more acres available on these farms to plant if it can also be available for manure application. And then from the second project, some pictures of the farms that we have plantings on. And on the 1,200 acres we have with the original Valley View project from, I think I got the year right, 2006, but I might be off a little bit. But in total we have 1,200 acres in Prairie that's been established from that original project to these current projects with the goal of adding as we go forward. And eventually harvesting this prairie grass as additional feedstock to produce more RNG. And we'll have projects in the field operating by next year that will start demonstrating how that works, what the yields are, what the metrics are, so that we have solutions to take to new projects, but frankly to bring back to these original projects and add.